Okay, and we are live. Welcome, everyone. I am Brigantio Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Let's take a few minutes today, talk about this Mercury Retrograde that we are sliding into, the renovations that's been going on at the Gilded Group Blackbird's Brew, and what's in store for us 2023. So, I bit the bullet and I listened to a few videos about the Mercury retrograde that's occurring in the sign of Capricorn for this cycle. If you watched my my pagan problems video of a few weeks ago, in which I was criticizing the way astrology is taught, let me say that there were several channels that made me absolutely stand firm on everything I had to say about that. But there was one who actually structured their presentation in a sensible way and conveyed actual information. And so, according to the gentleman that I watched, who I did post him in the Witchcraft channel in Blackbird's Brew, he was talking about how because this particular retrograde is in the sign of Capricorn, that it's giving us an opportunity to really revamp all of the practical matters of our lives, whether it is our finances, the way we run our households, the day-to-day relationships we have with our spouses, our families, our friends, people who we interact with regularly in the community, anything that's hands on, here and now, let's get something done. That is essentially what this retrograde is going to give us an opportunity to sort out. So it's about rethinking our approach, learning to become much more prudent, particularly where our financials are concerned, be more moderate going forward. We haven't just had a culture of abundance, we really have had a culture of excess, and learning to scale that back and realizing that, maybe all the toys aren't all that they're really cracked up to be. Maybe having something because someone else has it, maybe that's not a really good reason to go out and get it. Maybe we should be more focused about what we actually choose to buy, what we have in our houses, and just the general lifestyle that we're leading. Now, this is also a moment where we can reorganize our affairs and particularly how we conduct our affairs and kind of shuffle out the things that have proven to be ineffective approaches or things that just haven't really panned out very well. I mean, sometimes you have an idea, it seems brilliant. You go to test it in reality, and reality gives you the impression that perhaps that idea was not as brilliant as what you thought it was in theory. So, allowing ourselves to embrace the results that we get and to act accordingly, that'd be something very good for us to do. We need to start embracing winning strategies rather than just trying to stubbornly plod along and thinking, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, eventually I'll get our way. Maybe you will, or maybe you'll just keep bashing your head up against a brick wall. Something for us all to think about. Another thing this gentleman encouraged us to do was to reimagine our goals and our personal pursuits and to become more aligned with our own individual purposes. Let's look at our patterns of behaviors, learn from them, and adapt. So, after he really got through his spiel, it kind of made me glad that we're going to be starting the year in retrograde because it's very suitable energy and the perfect atmosphere in which we can reflect, in which we can actually set practical New Year's resolutions and begin working towards them, and also to start identifying the things that are obstructing our way and deciding that, maybe it is time for some things to hit the curb. Good moment for it all. So now let's talk about the Blackbird's Brew renovation, and hopefully this is showing up on YouTube in the background. And on my end, where I'm streaming from, we can see it. So if you can't, let me know in the comments. So here we are. As you know, I have been working trying to figure out some way to make Blackbird's Brew on Gilded a little bit more useful and accessible for everyone. And speaking of the name, one of the reasons why I dubbed this Blackbird's Brew is because I thought it sounded a little bit like one of those old English pubs. And I have a very, very soft spot for British culture. Quite a bit of my ancestry is very solidly Anglo-Saxon. And when I was growing up, my family, if we were going for entertainment, it was British detective stories or British sci-fi or comedies or period pieces. Even a lot of the home and gardening shows that I was exposed to as I was coming up, they were very, very British. And a lot of them were also not just British, but very, very English. So it was really the dominant cultural influence of all of my growing up. And even still now, I really embrace and love a lot of things about it. And one of the great British institutions is that of the village pub. And so when I was creating this server, I always had that in the back of my mind. And I wish that the just the layout. I wish I had a few more visual options to give us a little bit more atmosphere, because I love the idea of the pub because it is so community centric from its purpose to how they're used, everything about it. It's where people go to socialize. They have things like quiz nights and game nights and live music. Sometimes they have separate rooms if people are having special dinners or if they want to have meetings. It's also a place where people do a little bit of soapboxing. It's just all things for all sorts of purposes. And that is very much the feeling that I've been aiming for with Blackbird's Brew on Gilded. And it's honestly why I focus my efforts on Gilded as opposed to other platforms that just don't really allow for that kind of interaction that I'm really hoping to give people the opportunity to experience. Because the rest of social media, let's face it, it's nothing more than post and run, or it is you are talking at people, not with them. And I think we deserve better. I think we deserve that proper back and forth. I think we deserve real time conversations, and we deserve the opportunity to make friends and hopefully one day, fingers crossed, meet each other in person. So the Gilded server is my band-aid solution until such time as it can be replaced with better things. So let's take a look, see for how things are going to be showing up. As you can see, we have these nice little categories. We have the bulletin board, the pub, the soapbox, the library, and the archives. So if you want to access something, you click on the category, and then you have the channels that drop down. And then on our bulletin board, we begin with our welcome wagon. This is just, hello, welcome to the server. This is a little bit what we're about. Then you go on to the charter, and that tells you what essentially the mission statement, if we want to go all corporatized with it. The purpose is supposed to serve a few kind of, I don't really want to say ground rules, but just, hey, this is how we operate. And then beneath that, we have the channel directory. It has the name of each and every channel. It says exactly what it's there to be posted for. And so if you're ever in doubt of where you want to share content onto this particular server, refer to the channel directory, and that'll point you right where you need to go. And really, for anyone who might be joining the server after this point, these are the first 3 channels you should read. Read the welcome wagon, read our charter, and then look at the channel directory, and then you can come onto one of the other channels and begin to introduce yourself. Now, underneath the channel directory, we have announcements that just lets you know what's going on at the server when, lets you know about changes. Beneath that, we have a calendar. I have astrological notations in that. I have certain holidays mentioned there specifically, some members' birthdays, when we have our group chats, what they're for. This is also the mechanism through which I send invitations to group chats. So you have the opportunity to accept, decline, or say maybe, or whatever else. But at any rate, if you want to know what's going on at the server and why and when and where, these are the channels that are going to be giving you that information, and you can refer to it at any time. Now, the last channel in this is the suggestion box, which is not the complaints department. As I mentioned, honestly, in the charter and in a couple of other places, if you have technical issues, that has to be directed to Gilded Tech Support. They're the only ones who are going to really be able to help you. And it's not about, I don't get along with so-and-so. No. If you have an issue with someone, settle it in DM off the server time. And if you feel like there's something that needs to be brought to my attention, bring it to my attention in a DM. So what the suggestion box is really all about is saying, I had an idea about we could expand the services of this server, or I have a workshop that I think would be really fun for us to get involved with, or could we have this kind of chat about this topic as a group, and things, things of that nature, things about how can we create an atmosphere that is more interesting and more serviceable for us all. So that's the bulletin board. Beneath it, we have the pub. And the first channel is the hearth. And that's where we gather around for more casual conversations and visiting on any subject. Only this morning, one of the members and I, we had a really interesting discussion. And we were talking about different theories. There's a lost mythical island off the coast of Ireland that was called, I think it was Hyes Brazil or something like that. And we talked about how that kind of made us think of, not so much of Atlantis, but of the idea of Avalon. And then it went into this other conversation about chakras and, why can't we see certain things? And maybe we just need to sort out our own energy. It ran the gamut, and you never know what you're going to meet in the hearth. Sometimes it's very casual visiting. Sometimes it's these deep dive theoretical conversations, and people come and they go, and, and if you want to start a conversation there on any topic, absolutely welcome. Beneath that, we have the smoking room, and that's where we hide away the sordid political and the current events discussions. Also, if you have links to, I watched this video and I thought it was fantastic about, whatever's going on in the world, or I saw this post, that's the place really to leave those links and to start conversations about that, because we are a part of this world. And by having conversations about what's going wrong and what's going right and what we can do to be better, I mean, that's kind of part of doing our bit to improving our situation in the world. We have to acknowledge what things are and start brainstorming together about what can we do in real time about it. Beneath that, we have the banquet hall, which is where we have our group chats. And our group chats have the both voice and video capability. So if you want to show your face and be able to see facial expressions as well as hear that tone of voice, this is the next best thing we have to actually meeting up in person. And beneath that, we have a channel called Center Stage. This is where all of the seasonal posts are going to go. So whatever pagan holiday we have coming up, or cultural or secular holiday coming up that we want to make mention of, anything that we're particularly working on for this season, anything decorative for this season, music associated with the season, that's where it's all going to be. And it'll just be going right through the seasons of the year. Now, underneath that, we have the soapbox channels. This is where we show off our pagan content creators. First, we have a nocturnal pagan who also goes by that same name. He has done some YouTube videos in the past. Right now, his work schedule isn't really letting him do that, but we're holding the place open that way because I want people to know that he has done work and what kind of work he has done. And if his schedule ever permits him to go back to making videos again in the future, I want to make sure that it's just right there. Beneath him, we of course have me, Brigantia Blackbird. This is where I post my video links. Underneath me is Druid's Den. This server, that channel rather, is run by Druid Fox. Primarily, she writes a blog. She does a lot of literary and book reviews. Sometimes she brings up other stuff. She shares a lot of her own home decoration stuff there as well. And that's another thing about these soapbox channels, is that whoever is running them, they can post what they like. I mean, it's a handy dandy place to keep track of the links of their work and to notify the other members that, hey, so-and-so, they have a new video up or they have a new blog post up and maybe check it out. But it's also a place where they can essentially run the conversation. Whatever's on their mind, they can talk about it there. Next, we have Greyhorn Pagans podcast that is run by Stein Fox. He is the Jarl of the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans. Met up with him earlier this month. Have been able to do a collaboration with him. Real nice guy and interesting individual to talk to, and that's his spot on the server. Underneath him, we have Pagan Prepper Universal Pagan Temple that is run by Sigrun Gregerson. She's been out dealing with some family and health issues, but once she's back up and at him again, her spot is waiting for her. Then we have Roy Rat, who this channel is run by the Raven Lord. He does some Rumble videos on a variety of topics. He's a very eclectic pagan. He loves his nature. He loves his animals. So a lot of his video work is kind of focusing on that sort of thing. Underneath there is True North Eurofaith. This is run by Gandalf Freyasund. The True North Eurofaith, it is an email newsletter. Gandalf is looking to he's been talking about expanding his operations in some fashion at some point. So fingers crossed, we will also be blessed with whatever he decides to come up with. And then finally, we have Wiccan Conservative, run by our own dear Georgia Liberty. She looks at all of our news and our current events through a pagan lens and gives us some marvelously hard-nosed analysis. Absolutely love her to bits. And fingers crossed, hopefully we will be adding a newcomer to the server in fairly short order. This is someone who has quite an expansive audience, who's been doing videos and live streams for many, many years. And I hope that she will soon have her own channel here. And I'm going to keep it a secret for now. You'll just have to drop by the server to meet her for yourself. Now, underneath Soapbox, we have the library. This is for more topic-related discussions. As you can see, we have Celtic, Egyptian, Greco-Roman, Native American, Norse, Germanic, Slavic, witchcraft. These represent various spiritualities that people on the server are involved in and practice. This is for links to a research material or, cultural information, historical information, anything, music, art, anything, religious practices, anything of that nature. It all goes under those categories, of wherever it happens to originate from. And then last but not least, we do have the archives. These are essentially retired channels. They're read only. Some of them might be coming back in some form. It just kind of depends. Because while I think the server in its current form, it really does serve that purpose of people being able to chat back and forth in real time. What it doesn't readily do is be able to have a place where you can just kind of store information, whether it's a post or blog link or a video link or whatever else, and be able to have it to be readily accessible. Now, my first foray into trying to create things that would allow us to more easily store information. It didn't go so well, so I have had to go back to the drawing board and think about how to perhaps restructure things. What I'm thinking at the present time is essentially having some read only forums or document channels or things of that nature. To where I can start to gradually build up reference materials, quotations from books, book lists that might be helpful for people to read, maybe links to where people can get free digital copies, things of that nature. And then I'll just gradually build that up as kind of a special project. And if I do end up going that route, what I will probably do is resurrect the forum of magical and spiritual correspondences that were organized by intention. I just kind of go through all the various intentions and the various associations each intention has. This is a great way for my fellow witches to find substitutes they need for spell work or ritual work. And it's also really helpful if you're learning, you're doing some research, and you're seeing, okay, these things connect together somehow. And it gives you a baseline upon which to base further research. And okay, if these things are connected, why are they connected? How are they connected? Why do these associations come together in the way that they did? And it can also, it kind of helps build up a person's baseline knowledge. So, assuming that this approach is what I do and it ends up working out well, I will eventually expand and essentially we'll just have a category for references. It will be read only. And members of Blackbird's Brew, if they're wanting to send me something, they want something to be included, they can send me that via DM. And if I decide to post their submissions, I will credit them as being the ones who, suggested it, as well as whoever is the original creator and source for that material. Now, one of the reasons why I think this is important to have is because we are essentially sharing our knowledge. And while if someone does share something in the course of a conversation, that's all well and good. But as the conversation moves on, if someone comes back later and says, "Oh, I was kind of wanting to learn about this," and someone says, "Oh yeah, I remember someone posted about that. How much scrolling do you have to do to get back to that information if you do find it at all?" Because after a while, scrolling, everything just kind of bleeds together. So that's not ideal. So I think we do need something to where people can just kind of have an information dump that they can access and resource as they see fit. So hopefully I will be gradually working on that through 2023 to have something that will be at least serviceable, if not actually ideal. We're working with some constraints here. But that is what's going on with the Blackbird's Brew renovations. Now, let's talk about 2023. We are days away. We are days away, and we will be in that new calendar year. And I am feeling that energy of let's refresh, let's revitalize, and let's revamp everything. So my personal motto for the year is improvise, adapt, overcome. And I'm going to be giving myself a lot more room to experiment, whether it's with what I'm wanting to do with the server or whether it's various video series that might be coming and going and zooming in and zooming out on the channel. It's a little bit hard to say. I want to make sure that everyone knows that I'm just going to be trying to see what works. So if you enjoy something that you see, it's pretty important that you let me know about that, because if you don't get any feedback, how is a content creator to know that anyone cares about what they're doing? So if you like something, be sure to mention it, because otherwise it could be gone with the wind. So one of the changes that I have decided to make, and this has to do with daily posts on Blackbird's Brew. Over the past year, what I have done is that every day I had a post about the astrological positions of the planet, so people had a general idea of what kind of energy weather we were having that day. And I also made sure that there was a tarot card of the day or something of that nature. But going forward, what I'm going to do is essentially on Sundays, I'm going to be posting what the astrology movements are for the week. and also a divination spread for the week. It'll be kind of meditative. Hopefully, it'll tie into some of the energies we experience through the week. But you know what divination is like. Sometimes it doesn't tell you what you asked it. It tells you what it thinks you need to hear. So we'll see how that goes. And another thing that I'm doing is that I've always kind of had a theme that I focused on for the month, but I'm going to really double down on that. It's going to be very, very seasonal. For instance, in January, it's going to be all about purification. And part of that is that instead of having, daily magical correspondences, I'm just going to pick, one related plant, one animal, one stone, one mythical being, one deity, one method of magic that I think is particularly relevant to the season, or at least the energy and the atmosphere that I'm taking from that season. I'm going to be doing a lot of daily posts focusing on those specific things, having a little bit more of a deep dive rather than just little magical snippets. Hopefully that'll be beneficial. I think it'll be at least more interesting to me. So if it's more interesting to you, by all means, let me know. But another thing going into 2023, whether it's on this channel or on the Gilded server, it's all about practical applications of ideas, of really learning the lessons that we take from our mythology, our lore, our own personal gnosis, what we've gained through the experience of our practice. It's all about the practice, because I've said many times, paganism is not this intellectual exercise and this business of having to go about learning about how to practice pagan spirituality in this really academic way. That's very much something that's just the modern era. That's definitely not how our ancestors did it. But of course, we are rebuilding and reconstituting pagan society. So we're having to go about it perhaps a bit unnaturally. But, I think it's time to move away from just the intellectual aspect of it. I think this is all about what we are gaining, what we are understanding, and is that actually showing in our behavior? I want to really get beneath the surface. And I keep saying that get beneath the surface, beneath the surface, beneath the surface. I mean, everyone keeps calling paganism a way of life. So the challenge is learning how to make that truth and not just a slogan. Learning to walk that talk a little bit more every single day. And as we do that, each individual pagan is really, being part of this reborn, living, breathing pagan civilization that is slowly emerging from the ashes. So it does matter how we live our lives. It does matter what practices that we choose to prioritize and how we go about them and why. It matters. Another important thing going forward is really the principle of reciprocity. I'm a huge believer of prioritizing giving support to those who have also supported me, a gift for a gift, as it says in the Havamal, and making sure that that's something that's really practiced on the server and on this channel about, giving support, getting support, and then making it that proper two-way street. Because this business of the world of it just being things being one-sided or just too business-like or too corporatized, I just don't think that's a healthy way forward. But people actually helping each other out because they sincerely value what the other person is doing, I think that is a healthy way forward. I think we can build on that. And the last thing I really want to hone in on is the need to be a lot more solutions oriented. You've probably been noticing that in a lot of my videos of, okay, we have, X, Y, or Z going on. What are we actually going to do about it? I understand what we're feeling about it, and I understand we need to understand how it came about, but it's not until we get to the solving that we're really being productive. And I think it's important to really start being more and more focused about solutions, because for one thing, it lessens the strength of that psychological hold that stress can sometimes get. I mean, it's like this claw that goes into our very souls. But if we're solutions oriented, that stress, it has less purchase. Doesn't have as much to work with. We're not as vulnerable to it. It's not that we don't feel it. It doesn't have as much potential to take over our lives. And also, I think this helps us prevent ourselves from becoming paralyzed from our emotions. There's so much going on in every level of life. And sometimes it does feel like you've just been hit with this tidal wave of your own feelings. And, the force, it just knocks you down and you don't know what to do with it. But if we're not hyper focusing on all the bad things that have happened or what could possibly go wrong, but we're just focusing on what needs to be done or how we can perhaps better position ourselves in the future, being more proactive, I think that also helps keep our emotions in check to where they're not the ones who are completely running the show. Emotions make for an excellent fuel, but they make a sucky steering wheel. And also being more solutions oriented, I think it's this reminder for ourselves that our challenges can be overcome, problems can be solved, and battles can be won. And I don't know about you, but I kind of need a victory. And I think that's where a lot of people are. That's the energy I'm kind of picking up from the ether. It's what I'm hearing other pagans express on their channels. It's what I'm hearing commentators talk about on their own channels. People are just we're just so tired of treading water and not getting anywhere. It's time to ramp things up and actually get something done. So I guess that's what 2023 is all going to be about. So hope you'll be along with me for that. And that's pretty much what I had to say. So thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please smash the like button. I know I forgot to post the link to the Gilded group in the description. My bad. I will pin a comment after I'm done with the broadcast. And if you haven't joined us there already, please do. We'd be very happy to have you. And if you're there already, say hi. But that does it for now. Bye, everyone.